Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with Devin McGovern. Devin, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and share some of my insights.
Now, Devin is the founder. He is the talent behind Devin the Dad. He is a content creator with over 100 million views this past year across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And you guessed it, we're going to be talking about being a dad, fatherhood. He creates story-driven content focused on the realities of family life, brand partnerships, and modern storytelling. And so lots to talk about. Devin, great to have you on the show. Before we get into the Devin the Dad side of your story, let's talk about your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for me, I came to Hollywood with a Hollywood dream, like so many do. Got off that bus, the literal bus, but I drove out here and thought I wanted to be an actor and kind of worked my way through various parts of Hollywood and landed in reality TV in the unscripted world. Worked my way up from PA to EP, and I was show running a show called Bar Rescue for Paramount. And then on February 24th of 2020, the great 2020 year that we all went through, I was walking around set. I was the showrunner of Bar Rescue. We were loading everything in, the lights, the camera, making sure all the cast passed background. And I was just taking it all in. I was the showrunner. We were making a TV show. That's what I had came out to Hollywood to do. And I didn't realize it would be the last day I would be on a TV set, because the next day I would check myself into the ER because I thought I was having a heart attack.
Ooh.
And I had just turned 40, which was much, much too young to be having a heart attack. And I was actually just having a panic attack. So it was the combination of, we had just had our first child about 9 months ago, which brings on a lot of stress, or 9 months prior. I was the showrunner of a TV show on Paramount, and then there was the looming pandemic. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then, sure enough, it would shut production down for a few years. So that was me. I'd worked my way through the reality TV world, and then it kind of all came crashing down between the pandemic, and then a writer's strike happened after that. And really, the industry has never been the same since.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it has been certainly a shift in the structure of the industry, but I guess as one door shifts or closes and you kind of reprioritize things, Devin the Dad was born. So tell me more about how that has taken shape.
Yeah, so Devin the Dad was born out of that not being able to work. I guess when I was working in reality TV, I'd kind of seen the writing on the wall that the industry was changing, the ad dollars were going elsewhere. The mistake that I made was, I could get a job in a lot of other industries. I was a TV producer, which meant I wore lots of hats, and I figured, I could do marketing, or I could do, PR or business. That was actually not true. As I went out into the real world, I guess you could say, because sometimes TV has a little bubble, and I couldn't find a job. So here I was in my mid-40s with 2 kids, and I didn't have any work. The shows from reality weren't coming in. I couldn't find a traditional job. So I kind of, being the reality TV producer that I was, just kind of turned inward to my own reality, which was the chaos of parenting and being a dad. And I turned that into content. And Devin the Dad was born out of the chaos of parenting.
And tell me more about that content. So you're focusing on kind of family life. Tell me what are the kind of key topics that you touch on?
Yeah, I think social media is a place where people go to for an escape. They also go for education and entertainment. Or I guess they go for entertainment and escape, or they go there for education. And I felt like for the longest time as I was a dad that I wanted to give dad takeaways. I feel like being a dad is very important. Modern parenting and modern dad has changed from when I was a kid, and my dad worked a lot and wasn't necessarily around as much. So I thought, great, I can give some great insight on how to be a good dad. And that was me thinking, while I'm trying to put my daughter to sleep, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to sleep train my kid. In fact, my daughter's about to be 7 and I'm still co-sleeping with her. So I don't have any tips or takeaway. And then it kind of hit me There was a moment when we went to dinner with my grandparents, with their grandparents and my parents, and it was a shit show. I can say that, right? It's fine to say it on this. It was
of
an absolute
course.
shit show. And it was really hard taking toddlers to dinner. And I had seen this trend on Instagram about touching grass and breathing in some fresh air when things are tough. So we went home and I shot a video with my mom. I was touching some trees and some grass, and I just wrote some text on the screen. Just took my 2 toddlers to dinner because WTF was that? Because that's how I felt. I was like, what the F was that, taking kids to dinner? And 2 days later, it hit 8 million views on Instagram.
Wow.
It was in that moment where I was like, oh, and then after reading all the comments, people wanted the relatability of parenting and dad life. They didn't want to be told, here's the 10 tips about how to take your child to dinner. It was, hey, that was my experience at dinner. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so real, for being honest. And in that shift was Devin the Dad being born and creating relatable, funny content.
Yeah.
So that people don't feel so alone in this parenting journey.
I love that. I was joking with my girlfriend because she'd gone to a dinner with 2 couples, and she'd asked them kind of like what was the secret of their relationship success, and they came back with all the same kind of lines that you'd expect, like, well, you need to make time for each other, etc., and all this type of stuff. And she came back and told me that night, she was like, oh, well, this is the secret to their success. And I was like, they're lying. Like there is no relationship that is that clean, that clear. And the same applies to parenting, like whenever you see some parent that seems to have it all together, oh my God, scratch the surface. There's a lot of insanity going on. But also, and so I think that when you say relatability, that's very helpful. It's very helpful for people to understand that perfection is not the goal, and that there's kind of like this, the perfection is what it is for you and what it is for the people that you live with and are, the personalities in your life, right? So it's a really, really interesting one. But I imagine, Devin, that there are certain topics that come up that you cover that are more kind of like people love or gravitate to more than others. What are some of the top topics these days?
Some of the top topics are the everyday, I guess, mundane things that happen that you don't think. You think like the big highlights of like, the amazing vacations you take with your kids. And we took a trip to Hawaii and edited it like a reality show. And again, it was really hard. And it was one of those, is like, vacation isn't always just sunshine and rainbows. It's the little moments, the meltdowns, the not wanting ice cream, the having too much iPad, the going to the pool. And I think the things that people relate to are the stuff that just happens on the daily. We had a video recently hit almost 9 million views, and it was me trying to eat dinner and my daughter screaming in the background that she was done pooping. You kind of forget, like, when you're doing it as a parent, it just becomes like, oh yeah, this is what I have to do. But then when you share it, people are like, oh my gosh, like, why does that always happen while I'm eating? Or why does it happen at a restaurant? And I think those are the moments that sometimes they can really wear on you as parents, because one thing what happens as becoming a parent is you really lose some of your identity. And some of these like small moments that you start to wear on you, but maybe you can laugh about it because Devin the Dad posted, you realize, hey, I've got to wipe the butt. It's just what you have to do. I'm not the only one. Like, thank goodness, because sometimes in the moment you get frustrated. You're like, ugh, I'm about to eat again, and now is when they have to poop. But we're all going through it, and it's okay to not be okay. I think that's what we teach our kids, that, like, hey, it's okay to not be okay. We don't have to tell them that they're fine, because clearly they're not. And what I'm telling parents and dads, like, it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's fine. Yeah. You're not fine, and that's okay. And I'm sharing that, and everyone relates to that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I do think parenting has changed. And I do think that there's a real need for an exploration of it, and really this idea of relatability to the new dad experience, right? I mean, we see parents today sharing responsibilities much more than perhaps they did, in past generations. We sometimes see dads staying at home versus like their wives, right? So there's a lot of different structures where dads kind of come into family life in different ways. When you talk to the people that follow you, and I imagine you've essentially built a community almost now. What are some of the things that they're kind of like, oh, thank you, it's great to know that I'm not alone in this or that?
Yeah, I think it starts with the wives, I think, and then it transfers to the dads. Just, naturally more women are on social. They are following the kid parenting accounts and they're sharing it with their spouses. And I think that's what I'm noticing. I also notice a lot of stuff about another trend is just school. We have all of these technologies that are supposed to help us. And when your kids go to school, it sometimes feels overwhelming. You've got, multiple apps and you've got multiple logins and you've got WhatsApps and, various things. And, I remember my parents had one piece of paper that I handed them that was like basically the schedule of events for the year. So some of the content that I've created and like comparing parenting in the 90s to today has really taken off as well. And I'm finding myself in parenting WhatsApp threads. My sister will send a screen grab and be like, hey, somebody said, hey, I think your brother's in my, school WhatsApp thread because I was talking about, baking cookies in the 90s compared to like making them now. You've got to check this app and figure out what the login, and they're sending the security code to your wife. And then dad has to figure out what the, like right now we got the end of the school year. So like, what are we wearing? What theme is it? Are we doing a half day, a full day, a half day? And it just becomes so overwhelming. And parents are like, oh my gosh, I feel so seen by watching this.
I saw a video the other day by a dad who got a call from his wife and it said, hey, you need to go pick up, their daughter, right, from school. And so he shows up at the school and he says, I need to pick up Sarah Smith. And the lady in the office says, great, who's her teacher? And he's like, my daughter's name is Sarah Smith.
Yeah.
And he's like, what class is she in right now? My daughter's name is Sarah.
It's so funny.
So
it's
true.
Like
one of those classic moments that we all have had. Like, wow, I don't remember the name of her homeroom teacher, but
right.
That's great. Well, I mean, Devin, what a great story! And I imagine when you've had successful content out there, that brings a sense of joy, and that you're sharing something that's relatable and it bonds you with your audience. But tell me a little bit more about where the passion comes from for what you're working on.
The passion comes from, I was a creative person. That's why I came to California, was to be in the creative arts. And it's finding so many different paths now to have creative outlet. When I first started filming stuff myself, to age myself, YouTube was just getting started. And now the access to create content, post to YouTube or Instagram is instant. Back then I was shooting on mini DV and, then trying to convert it and then edit on Final Cut. So the passion is still being creative and sharing that creative with individuals more instant than before. I would work on a reality show and we would shoot a week and then we would edit for 8 to 10 weeks and it would air in a year. Now you get much more of an instant feedback on the creative content you're creating, which I find very gratifying. And also, like, from a business standpoint, you're like, oh, this is working, this isn't, and you can make adjustments a lot quicker than before. It's in the can and it airs in a year. Like, you can't change it. It's done.
So, Devin, I mean, I don't know if this touches your world, but I imagine it might. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of books come out, a lot of research studies come out, really on kind of like the fate of men in general, like assessing young men and young fathers. I think Professor Galloway, if you ever kind of come across his content, he wrote a book last year about this, and it's really interesting, and because I'm kind of trying to figure this idea out where you said that a lot of the folks are women that will come in and then they refer their husbands to this. Are you finding that once they've done that, the men are kind of gravitating, and is there an opportunity for kind of community building here?
Yeah, absolutely. I do find, wives will pass it to the husbands, and then I get a follow from them, because I kind of, map it out and can see. And then, yeah, I'm definitely building a group and a community of dads and like-minded. It's definitely a more of a creative, but it's definitely what I've noticed. My biggest community that's really starting to grow is over 40 dads with young kids.
Right.
I still feel young, this millennial. It feels weird. You still feel like you're not 20s because you don't move like it, but you still have this sense of like young but old, but yet your kids are in elementary school. Yeah. And then I get a lot of comments that people are like, oh, you look like a grandpa and you're old. And then flip side, people are like, hey, they started late. And so did I. And I'm building this huge community of folks that have started having kids later in life. And we're seeing more of that happen than, say, my parents who are in their 20s. I'm the same age now as my dad when I was in high school. So there's definitely a big shift. And that's the biggest community I've seen grow and really connect with each other. Well, I mean, I'm kind of the platform, but then I'm seeing people connect with each other in my comments, and I'm just kind of the conduit.
So, I mean, I imagine that the natural progression of the year kind of outlines content for you, summer break, going back to school, all of those types of things. But tell me a little bit about what's on the docket for the near future.
Yeah, so for me, I've built up this entertainment aspect of Devin the Dad, and I've done it in a fairly short amount of time. We went from basically no brand deals to over 30 brand deals in the parenting, kid, dad space. We went from basically no income, because I lost my job in reality, to over 10K a month from brand deals. So from here, it's basically taking the business of social, and I'm calling it turning chaos into content and actually teaching others how to be content creators. There's a huge base of former colleagues who are struggling to find work that are looking at me going, hey, how'd you do this? Then there's kind of your audience of professionals that are like, oh man, I have to be a content creator. And I think we're at a point where Instagram and social is where everyone finds their news. They do a lot of their searching for businesses. And I think the Yelps and the Googles are not where younger people are searching for stuff. And I'm seeing professionals hit me up as well. And then local professionals where I live saying, could you help me with my content? I don't even know where to start. And that's kind of the next evolution of where I'm taking things. I'm still a dad, I'm still creating the content because that's, my reality, but helping others do the same because I'm realizing such a need for the basics. And I'm talking like, don't really even know how to shoot something, and what do I use to edit, and what text do you put on, and what do I say in a so very basic stuff for dads, professionals. And that's kind of where I'm heading, teaching courses. I'm going to be part of, a creator in residence course teaching professionals. So that's kind of the evolution of the business of Devin the Dad.
I love that. Well, there was one of the early kind of rock stars in social was a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. He has a big ad agency, Vaynerchuk, VaynerMedia. And, he always talked about, like, you just got to get out there. You got to start creating content. And, he had one thing that has always stuck in my mind is, if one person sees it, it's greater than zero. One is greater than zero, right? And I do feel a lot of this is getting going. Once the people can feel more comfortable with it, then they start flowing. And then, I mean, the wealth of knowledge that someone like you can provide them to how to turn this into a brand and then essentially share this out with folks is incredible. Well, listen, Devin, what a great story. I feel like your story is like the perfect perfect kind of antidote to the malaise of the problems that we hear in LA, with the Hollywood industry. That this is
Right.
really where we're going. That, you have super talented people. They can create amazing content. Devin the Dad is one of the examples of that great content, and hopefully we'll see many more over the near future. If someone wanted to learn more about you and the show, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Devin McGovern. And, we've got merchandise at devinthedad.com. And in my bios, I've got classes where I'm teaching, live in person through my Stand store. I've got courses that I'm coming out with. So all that information can be found on my Instagram at Devin McGovern. And then obviously we'll be learning about me here. So I'm excited for people to jump in and I think the biggest thing that you had mentioned earlier is for people just to start. Gary Vee was like, it's a free platform. You're not paying for it. You got to just start doing it.
It's really interesting because I often I'm a big believer in a lot of people exploring ideas, like kind of mid-career shifts like the one you went through, but also, how many of your friends out there complain about their jobs, right? We all have that. You sit down with them like, I hate this, I hate that. And they talk about an idea, but they never do it because they're like, well, I don't know. I don't have money to market this thing. I don't have any customers. And after going through something like Devin the Dad, you must be like, dude, you are the marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And
do it.
I always say, I churned the chaos, which was my reality, and everyone has a current reality. Everyone has whatever they're passionate about, their expertise, whatever is their current state in their life. You can create some sort of content or product or service or anything, and I think it's a matter of, like you're saying, just do it.
Yeah, just make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's been great having you on the show today, Devin. We've been speaking with Devin McGovern. He is a content creator, and he is the brain and the talent behind Devin the Dad, where he creates story-driven content focused on the realities of family life, brand partnerships, and modern storytelling. And, we've been talking really about that process. A couple of things here. One is, where one opportunity ends, you can shift that passion and into something else. And this is kind of like a great example of someone seizing the day and making something happen, and now building kind of a service and a solution for others to explore it as well. Devin, thank you so much for being on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.